Hi there everyone and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sarah Newman and I'm excited to show you some really beautiful new items from the Romantic Collection journal set from our friends at Stamperia. We have gorgeous pattern papers, we have rice papers, and we have die cuts. Everything is designed to make it really easy to create beautiful projects quickly and easily. And of course, because everything is coordinated, it takes a lot of the guesswork out of mixing and matching. So today I'll share a few card projects with you and a couple of fun techniques. As you can see, we have a lot to explore today, and I'm so glad that you're here. Come play with us. Let's take a closer look at what we'll be playing with today. I'm going to move aside these things so that we can start with our patterned papers. Now, this set is 8 inches by 8 inches, and the Romantic Collection, as you can probably imagine, is full of lots of beautiful vintage imagery, lots of really timeless designs. You've got some lace patterns, roses, old clocks, lots of botanicals, really kind of soft, shabby chic design. And because it has a journaling theme to it, you also get like these note paper lines. You've got some text in here. You've also got some beautiful handwriting. And the color palette is soft and neutral. And you can keep your colors this way if you want to work with a tone-on-tone effect, or you can also pick up some of the green or the pale pink in here and add in some contrast. Now you've also got here in the back, you've got some cutouts. Let's see, get all the way to the back. You've got some cutout embellishments on here, and you've also got some really nice word cutouts here on the inside of the front cover of the package. Now this is cardstock weight, and you'll have 10 double-sided sheets. Now because this is Stamperia, we also have rice paper. So let me bring these in here. We'll take a look at this. Now we've got 2 designs today, and the first is the Romantic Stylized Flower. Let's take a look at this. Really big, beautiful botanicals. Again, you've got some of the words on here, some of that really soft, beautiful, muted color palette. We also have the Romantic Manuscript. So again, we've got some gorgeous text, really soft, beautiful design on here. Now, both of these have really beautiful collage imagery. You can use them in their entirety. You can also cut or tear apart so that you can use different sections on here. Okay, so we also have in this collection the die cut pack. Now, this contains 37 super sturdy chipboard die cut embellishments. And I know it's really hard to see what you're getting inside the package, so I had a little bit of a play and took everything out so that you can see it a little bit better. Now you've got clocks, you've got some really pretty vintage imagery, florals, you've got again some sentiments, and here are even more. So again, lots of different elements that you can play with. And of course you can see how easily everything is going to come together. It makes it a lot of fun to play with, and really again does take a lot of the guesswork out of mixing and matching. Okay, now that we've seen the supplies, let's take a look at some projects. This card is a great example of how easily the Romantic Collection elements come together and how you can add in additional things that you may already have in your stash. So to start, I covered the card front with this gorgeous floral collage paper. And you can see it's got this big, beautiful blossom. It's got some collage elements here. It's got some of that kind of faux note paper pattern going on here and some spatters. It kind of means that I don't really need to do a whole lot more to have a really beautiful card. Even this preserved memories is printed onto the paper, and when I glued the paper onto my card front, I positioned this so that it would be at the bottom, and then I could add in a few more elements without covering up too much of this beautiful design. So I've got some open area over here, and this is where I put in this cool watch chipboard die cut and then the Remember Today die cut. I also added in a simple paper flower and some paper leaves. This is from the 49 in Market Royal Posies collection, and this is in Midnight. Now these are great for this particular collection because the colors just work so nicely together. And I mentioned earlier that because the color palette in the Romantic Collection is so neutral, you can easily keep your overall design in that same soft look. or you can bring in more colorful elements. So for example, I went with the midnight, which is kind of tying in with this dark blue area over here. But this is one of the flowers. This is from the marble collection. So really nice off-white colors with hints of gold. And if I just pop this on here, I think you can kind of see how it gives a completely different look than that dark blossom. So you can really play with lots of different color combinations in here, just with little hints like this. Now along the edges of my card, I've also added in a hint of color and some shine. This is the Yellow Limes Opal Polish. Now, this is one of my very favorite mediums for edging cards, and I know you've probably seen me do techniques with these a bajillion times, but I'll show you how easy this is to use here. So I'm going to just scoop my card out of the way, and I have one of my leftover strips from the 8x8 pack. Now, opal polish is a water-based medium that gives you an iridescent effect. So you just take off the top and you've got this beautiful iridescent color. Now, the nice thing about this is you also have this built-in sponge applicator, and this makes it really easy to add just a little bit of color and shine to the edges of your cardstock or your card front. So I'm just dipping in this sponge into the medium. I'm going to scrape off any excess. Don't need it too heavily weighted. And then just like you would do with an ink pad, you'll just run this along the edge. So you can hold it quite straight to the edge for just a little bit of color, or you can really kind of angle that sponge on there and create a heavier application. So it's not a really dramatic look, but it's soft and it's pretty, and it ties in so nicely with the color palette that we have here. Okay, so I'm going to pop the lid back on here so it doesn't dry out. And there you go. So I've added this around the edges here. Now on the inside of the card, I have more of that beautiful pattern paper. I have a large chipboard die cut element here with the big flower, and then again the watch and the little word here. The Forever is a cutout from the paper pack, and I've just added this on here with a little bit of foam tape. Now I've got some more of that opal polish going around the edges here. To get the edging on here, what I did is just folded back the card like this and then ran that sponge along here. So it makes it quite easy to do that. Now I've got another card I want to show you here, and this one has a little bit different format. So for this card, I've done a folded front card. And this is a nice layout. It gives you lots of interesting panels to decorate. And it's really fun when you've got a great big package of those die cuts that you can really have a lot of fun with. Okay, so here I've used lots of the chipboard die cuts along the cutouts, and each panel is covered with pattern paper and then edged also with opal polish. This time I used the green lemons. So this has a yellowish greenish tinge to it. You can see the two of them together give you some really pretty effects. This one has a little bit more of a gold look to it. Now to do the folding on the card, this is really easy. So I'm going to bring in a blank card and position the card fold right here, which is where I've got it with this one. And then all you need to do is take that front panel and just fold it back to meet the original fold of your card. So position that down and just crease this. And then you have your fold out card. So what I like to do is I'll do the folding first, and then I cover each of these panels with a separate strip of pattern paper, rather than covering this with pattern paper and then doing the fold, because paper can sort of shift and move a little bit. So this way I made sure that I kept all of my edges nice and even. And then edging on here with some of that opal polish. So I've also worked in the Happy Anniversary Dazzles, which is going to give me this beautiful scripty sentiment, and also lots of these little hearts that I can kind of tuck in here and there. Got lots of die cut elements on here. I've got lots of the cutouts as well. And these are from the paper pack, and I just fussy cut around those edges, and it was actually quite easy to do. And then this way, I've got a really nice different style of design. Just tucked in a couple of the die cuts here. And I've used some of the leaves, again, from our Posies collection. So you've got lots of fun little paper leaves in there and a beautiful sort of olive, mossy olive green color in here. And they just work together beautifully. So these are quick and easy ways that you can put this collection together. Now, another part of the Romantic collection is the rice paper. So let's take a look at how to use that. Stamperia is well known for their beautiful rice paper sheets. So these are lightweight sheets of paper. I've got one out of the package here, and this is the Romantic Manuscripts rice paper. Absolutely beautiful, but you can see, I think, that it is quite a lightweight paper. You can maybe even see my hand a little bit through here, through some of this pattern. When I turn it over, you'll notice that it's got some fibers in it, almost a bit like mulberry paper. So this gives it its strength, but it also is lightweight enough that you can tear it, you can collage with it, you can layer with it, you can do so many different things. Now, with this card here, I have used both of these two designs together. I couldn't choose between the two, so I was working with the Romantic Manuscripts and the stylized flower. So on the front, I've covered the entire front panel of the card with this stylized flower design. You can see how that big, beautiful blossom just goes right here on the card front. Then for the card inside, I've used the Romantic Manuscripts design. It's this beautiful script that you see right here, and I just tore around that outside edge and then layered it on top of patterned paper. So you can adhere the rice paper onto another pattern paper or right onto white or off-white cardstock. So you can get a couple of different looks just depending on what you're looking for. Okay, so let's take a look at how easy this is to do. We can talk a little bit more about rice paper. And I'm going to bring in some of this beautiful rice paper so you can see this beautiful design on here. Now this is gorgeous on its own, but when you start to layer it onto another pattern, you're going to be able to create some depth and dimension on here. Now the other thing with this is that you can use a damp, maybe a water brush or a paintbrush, a damp brush with a nice fine tip, and just trace around the outside edges of some of the designs. Here's one that I've done from that stylized flower. This was a little leftover piece, but take a look. That would be awfully pretty to adhere right on here. Now to glue this down, all you need to have is some white glue, and I use the glue from Creative Expressions, their Cosmic Shimmer glue. So I've got a little bit of that here on a piece, and what I'm going to do is just kind of go around this outside edge so you can see how nicely this tears. So I've just got a damp brush, and I'm going to kind of trace around this. I don't have to worry about getting too much in all of the detail areas here. And I haven't gone all the way around, but what I want to do is sort of start gently tearing this, working along the lines that I've drawn on here with my water brush before that water completely dries. Now, if you find as you're tearing that you bump into one of those fibers, you can just use a pair of scissors to snip that. Okay, so I'll come around here and maybe remove a little bit of this. You can see it comes off quite easily. And then I have this really pretty kind of soft feathery edge on here. So that will look really nice. And then I can see where I want this to go, which area. Of course, with these beautiful collage papers, you have lots of different areas of the paper that you can choose. So I'm going to pop this down right here, and what I'll do is just use a wide flat brush. This one's a little bit damp. You can add a little bit of water to your mix of your glue. You want it to be a nice consistency so that it can easily go onto your surface. And I do generally put the glue onto the surface that I'm putting my rice paper onto rather than trying to do it on the rice paper itself, because we know that lightweight things can tend to sort of stick to each other if you do that. And then I'm just smoothing this down. If I need to come back, and so I have a little bit of this kind of flipping up here, I can just come back in here and add a little bit more. Sometimes I like to come along the edges with a little bit of that glue and just kind of smooth those out so that they are definitely glued firmly down. Then of course, do be sure to put your brush into water right away so that those bristles don't get glued together. And there you have a really beautiful layered piece. Now this can be the background of your card design. You can also do a lot of other techniques with it too. So let's come back to the original card. After the card front dried, because again, I had this big piece on here, I put it under a stack of books just so that you know, can get a little bit warped when you're working with wet medium. So flatten it under some books, and then I added my focal elements on here. So I've used some of the Midas Gold metallic ink to edge the card. And I did this pretty heavily because I really wanted to have a nice soft metallic edge. And I really like how that goes with the colors of the rice paper. And what's funny about the rice paper, unlike pattern paper, this has kind of a soft tactile effect to it. It has a really nice feeling to it. Then I added some cutouts from the collection and also some of the die cuts. The joy is one of the die cut, or one of the cutout words just popped up onto some foam tape. And I've got some of the marble posies here, and it all coordinates with the gold and the beautiful neutral tones of the backing paper really nicely. And there is some gold on those posies as well. But back to our conversation about contrasting color. So I was a little bit torn, and when I was working on this card, I thought, you know, this would be really pretty, a nice fun way to add a pop of color in here. Those were the tomato color flowers, but you can see even if you just put one on there, it really does bring another little pop of color in there for a different look. Okay, and then again, here's another look at the card inside. I've got that script rice paper layered onto pattern paper. So this is a great way to use those gorgeous rice papers, and of course you don't have to choose between the two of them. You can use them both all together on your card. Okay, here is our last card. Now this one has a really different look. It is using all the same elements, but it has a slightly different style. It's got some more color to it. And for this card, I've covered the card front with a romantic pattern paper and a really sweet floral design. And then I created a softly colorful die cut middle area. Now this has been made using a die that was new to me that I absolutely fell in love with. And this is the Rose Lace die from hot off the press. So it's two pieces. You have the rectangle that will be the backing piece, and I die cut that from green cardstock. And then you have your center floral piece, which I die cut from blue cardstock. And both of those come from the Nesting Place cardstock collection. Now what I did is put both of the dies together for the blue portion, ran it through my die cutting machine. So you do want some of that hunky-dory low-tack tape that'll help hold everything in place. And when you're gluing these two elements together, I recommend you use sticky specks. So that will make it a lot easier to glue down all of those beautiful intricate portions of the rose backing. Okay, so this is my middle ground. And then for the card focal, I have some die cut chipboard right here. I've got some more posies. These are from the orchid set. And on this chipboard circle, I'm using some more of the rice paper. So just a little snippet of this kind of neutral area of the rice paper. It's just enough to give some really soft, lovely dimension and color. And I inked around the outside edge with the gold ink pad. And then I put it down onto a scalloped circle and didn't do anything to the scalloped circle. So just layered that right on top. Then on the inside, I have some more pattern paper and more cutouts and more die cuts. And I couldn't resist just adding a little one here on the inside front panel of the cards too. So easy to do. So I want to say a big thank you to our friends at Stamperia for all of the gorgeous designs in this collection. I'll see if I can bring in all of these card projects. It might get a little bit full here, but you can see that there is just so much that you can do with this collection. So a big thank you to our friends at Stamperia for this really inspiring set to play with. Now I have to say there is more in the Romantic Collection journal set, and I will be playing with different items for another webisode. It's the Mixed Media number 35 webisode, and that one will air on July 17th. So keep an eye out and we will explore even more techniques. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are super glad that you're here and really happy that you're a part of the Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, just see this webisode on paperwishes.com.